the second star to the right and straight on till morning. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be flying you to Neverland for a look back at the most popular film depictions of Peter Pan.
Well, all right. But you gotta take orders.
Written by Scottish playwright and novelist J.M. Barrie, Peter Pan is the fantasy tale of a magical, tight-wearing adventurer who refuses to age and has the power of flight. The character Peter Pan first appeared in the early 20th century, most famously in the 1904 play Peter Pan or the Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up, and later in the 1911 novel Peter and Wendy. The story is centered on the green-clad Pan, who is the leader of a gang of orphan children known as the Lost Boys. Together, they spend their time in Neverland fighting pirates and mingling with characters like mermaids, Indians, and fairies. Thanks to its timeless themes, Peter Pan and his story have become staples of literature and theater. Not only that, but 20 years after his debut, he finally made the transition to the silver screen with a 1924 adaptation that starred actress Betty Bronson in the title role. You may think casting a woman in this part was a strange choice, but it was actually quite common for Pan to be portrayed by the fairer sex. Peter Pan was traditionally produced as a pantomime play where men were deemed too big for the role and children were too young. The 1924 film adaptation introduced this fantasy tale to a wider audience and closely followed the original stage play in terms of form and content. It followed Pan as he meets the Darling family in London, then brings them back to Neverland, where he is confronted by the pirates and their leader, Captain Hook, the infamous villain who was seeking vengeance for the loss of his hand. It was decades before Hollywood adapted the story again.
Come on, everybody, here we go!
In 1953, Walt Disney animated Peter, Tinkerbell, and their friends in the most popular iteration of the tale, the classic Peter Pan. Disney's cartoon came in stark contrast to the previous film version as it captivated audiences with colorful imagery, sound, and musical interludes. You can fly, you can fly, you can fly. Thanks to its domination at the box office, Disney's became the definitive screen version. Despite Pan's renewed cinematic fame, the character took another decades-long break from film. Instead, he remained confined to the stage, most notably in a Broadway production starring Mary Martin. Neverland. But in 1991, Disney re-established Peter Pan as a movie star, albeit an adult one, and expanded the story's mythology with Steven Spielberg's thrilling live-action sequel, Hook. Robin Williams starred as the grown-up Peter Pan, who returned to the long-forgotten world of Neverland to save his own children from his eternal nemesis, Captain Hook, played by Dustin Hoffman.
I hate Peter Pan!
While Hook was a box office juggernaut, critics voiced their disapproval and demanded a straight-up remake of the original stage play. Disney ignored this request and ultimately launched an animated sequel to the original classic with 2002's Return to Neverland. Picking up where its predecessor left off almost half a century earlier, it haphazardly continued the story with Wendy's daughter being kidnapped by Captain Hook.
Hello, Wendy.
My apologies, miss.
As Disney continued to shun the idea of transforming the original Barrie tale into a live-action picture, Revolution Studios took up the challenge. Their 2003 film Peter Pan aimed to reintroduce the narrative and characters to a new generation as a morally uplifting fantasy tale. The production was well received and broke new ground by casting a boy in the title role.
It's Hook or me this time.
To capitalize on this reintroduction, Johnny Depp was cast in 2004's Finding Neverland. Neither a remake nor a sequel, this project was a semi-biographical account of the life of playwright and author J.M. Barrie. Thanks to its unique and compelling narrative, which explored his inspirations for his fictional works, the movie earned several Oscar nominations and helped longtime fans gain insight into the original story.
Young boys should never be sent to bed. They always wake up a day older. And then before you know it, they're grown.
Whether he's on the page or on the screen, Peter Pan is an iconic character who continues to capture the imaginations of children and adults alike. There is no doubt he will remain cinematic fodder for years to come.
To hear stories About me.
For more entertaining and informative retrospectives, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.